All right, hello and welcome. In this explainer, we're going to talk about something that pretty much all of us will see on our skin at some point: benign skin tumors. They're just those common, harmless growths, and by the end of this, you'll have a much better idea of what's what. You know that feeling, right? You spot a new lump or bump, and your mind just starts racing. But here's the thing: the vast majority of these are completely harmless. So, what we're here to do is to take the mystery out of it all. So, here's our plan. We'll kick off with the basics. What exactly is a benign tumor? Then we'll go through a kind of field guide to the usual suspects. After that, we'll look at what happens when scars get a bit carried away. We'll take a deep dive into moles, and we'll wrap up with the really crucial bit: when you should actually see a doctor. Okay, let's dive right in. First up, what are we even talking about with this term benign skin tumor? I know it can sound a bit clinical, maybe even a little scary, but honestly, it's not. The most important word here is benign. It basically means it's a harmless, localized little gathering of cells. And the really crucial thing to know is that, unlike a cancerous growth, it doesn't spread to other parts of your body. It just stays put. Think of it as a small, slightly disorganized, but ultimately harmless group of cells. So why do they even pop up in the first place? Well, the truth is, for a lot of them, we don't have one single exact answer. It seems to be a mix of different things. Your genetics might play a part, or it could be something in the environment. Sometimes it's even just a reaction to a tiny injury or a bit of inflammation. Right, let's get into our little field guide. We're going to run through some of the usual suspects, the kinds of common bumps and growths you're most likely to see. First on our list, seborrheic keratoses. Now, these are super common, particularly as we get a bit older. You might have heard them called senile warts, which isn't a great name, is it? The real telltale sign, the thing to look for, is that they have a sort of stuck-on look, almost like a little blob of candle wax landed on the skin. Okay, next up, skin tags. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Those little, soft, dangly bits of skin. You often find them where there's a bit of friction, like on your neck or in your armpits. They're totally harmless and really common, especially during pregnancy or if someone is overweight. So it's not always about new cells growing. Sometimes a lump is actually a cyst, and a cyst is really just a tiny little bag under the skin that's filled up with, well, trapped stuff. And what's inside them is, well, it's fascinating, if a bit grim. An epidermal cyst, for example, is full of old, trapped skin cells, and our source material has this absolutely unforgettable description for the smell: rotten cheese. Sorry about that, but you're not going to forget it now, are you? All right, let's switch gears and talk about scars. You know how the body heals itself after a cut or an injury? Well, sometimes it gets a little overenthusiastic, and the scar tissue can build up. And there are two main ways this can happen. You've got hypertrophic scars, which are raised, but they stay put right within the lines of the original wound. But then you have keloids, and these are a different kettle of fish. They actually grow outside the original boundary of the injury, and they don't tend to shrink back on their own. Okay, now for the big one, the one that pretty much everyone has and has questions about: moles. Let's really get under the skin of what they are. So to get what a mole is, you first have to know about a little cell called a melanocyte. Think of these as the pigment factories of your skin. They make melanin, which is the stuff that gives your skin its color. So a mole, it's really just a little group, a little cluster of those cells, all huddled together. But here's a funny thing. If you just look at them under a normal microscope, you can't really see them properly. They just look like little clear cells, kind of hiding out at the bottom layer of the skin. You wouldn't even know they were the pigment makers. So to make them pop, doctors use these really clever special stains. This one here, called a melon A stain, is like a highlighter just for melanocytes. It makes them all light up bright red so you can see exactly where they are and what they're doing. It's an incredible tool for getting a closer look. And it turns out there are different types of moles, and it all comes down to location. It's about where those little clusters of cells are sitting. If they're right on the border between the top and bottom layers of your skin, that's a junctional mole. If they're deeper down in that second layer, that's intradermal. And if they're in both places at once, you got it, that's a compound mole. Okay, this brings us to what is, without a doubt, the most important part of this whole explainer. Because yes, we've said that most of these things are totally fine, but knowing what to look for, that's where you can really take charge of your own health. So let's be really clear. It is very rare for a benign mole to turn into a malignant melanoma, a dangerous skin cancer. But it can happen. And that's why the absolute key is not to worry about having moles, but to keep an eye out for any changes. And this is exactly why that's so critical. Have a look at this number. About 30% of melanomas actually start in a mole you've had for ages. So it's not just about looking for new things, it's about knowing your own skin and noticing when something familiar starts to act differently. Thankfully, there's a really easy way to remember what to look for. It's called the ABCD rule. So A is for asymmetry. Does one half look different to the other? B is for border. Is it jagged or blurry? C is for color. Are there a few different shades in there? D is for diameter. Is it getting bigger? And finally, E is for evolving. This is the big one. Is it changing in any way at all? So look, if you take just one single thing away from all of this, let it be this. The message isn't to worry, it's just to be aware. The golden rule is simple. If you see anything new or anything that's changing, just get it checked out by a doctor. That's it. Because with skin, catching things early makes all the difference in the world. You know, your skin really does tell the story of your life. It's talking to you all the time. The only real question is, are you taking a moment to listen? Thanks so much for joining us.